We know that differences between partners are natural, but they don't always feel like it. It's often your first instinct to want your partner to be more like you. Well, my next guest says there are some differences in partnerships that will always exist, and when we try to get rid of them, we'll only create more conflict in the process. I feel like that right there is something to think about. Studio 5 relationship contributor Dr. Matt Townsend is sharing ways to cope with the most basic differences in our marriage. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
So tell me more about this idea of perpetual couple problems.
69%, according to John Gottman, the great marriage guru and researcher, 69% of relationship issues are perpetual. They're not really going to ever go away.
That feels depressing.
Well, yeah, but that's actually why we married each other, is because we're different.
Okay.
So it shouldn't depress us too much, especially if we know that certain things we just have to understand better, tolerate better, work around more, instead of hoping they'll just disappear.
So it's not even working through them, it's just accepting them.
Some of it's just understanding and accepting them. And we're going to go through kind of 6 of the bigger differences. And once you understand them, then you can see, oh, is this the thing causing the conflict right now? Because if it is, let's go figure a way around it.
All right, the first one, gender differences.
Gender differences. In communication, they found that men and women, you won't believe this, have different goals.
Breaking news.
But when women are talking, their goal is bonding. When men are talking, not their goal, but what they measure is the bond. Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Are we good?
Okay.
When men are talking, we measure the status, our status in this conversation. Are you putting me down? Am I getting higher in status or lower in status? Which is why men would fight about how big that fish was that got away, because they're trying to increase the status, right? So if you're having a talk, she may want to talk about a problem because she wants to bond on it. But when you bring up a problem that he caused, you lower status. So behind every argument, you're going to see a bond status problem.
Okay.
And so one thing we got to start to figure out, that's a pretty typical difference between men and women. And as long as he's measuring if you're putting him down, and you're measuring why were you so mean to the kids, by the way, why he's strong and tough with the kids, is that shows hierarchy. Go to bed! And they all run to bed. She says go to bed 10 times, nothing happens, because she's more worried about the bond than the movement. So that's always going to be in a conversation, and if you start to notice it, then we can start to navigate, oh, that's why she's responding that way, that's why he's responding that way.
And has to be navigated from both sides, obviously. But
and understood by both sides.
Is this different than like feeding ego?
Well, yeah, because the interesting thing about it is it's not just egoic for a man to try to keep status. That actually is not egoic. That's actually for your benefit as a family.
Okay.
You want your man to be in hierarchy or status, because that would mean you'll make more money, you'll kill more animals, you'll be more dominant, you'll win more games.
So it's not this self-centric position. It's about protection for the family.
It's probably protection. And we've probably evolved that way. And so the big key to that is just notice it. So if you can talk without lowering his status, using more we statements, like we tend to do this a lot, and we ought to work on this, and I do this, and you do that. And if he could recognize how important the bond is in each conversation, then we can both get a lot farther.
That makes just a lot of good common sense.
Powerful.
Temperament differences.
2 temperaments I look out for. I've mentioned them all the time. High sensitivity. Some people pick up 4 times more stimuli from the world. And then another one's high sensation seekers. Those are the ones that will risk and try anything and need more and more stimulation. So sometimes you're having a fight because it's too loud in the house. Why are the kids screaming? And that's just because that person's probably overstimulated. And then the person making them scream is a high sensation seeker that wants the stimulation.
And they're all in the same family.
That's right. And
they're all in the same family room.
And it's all in the same room at the same time. So some of your arguments might just come down to temperament. Understand if your partner needs a little more break, a little time away. Understand if they are constantly pushing the edge. And then start thinking how your temperament impacts the relationship.
This is so wise, Matt. I'm really curious about this next difference, mental health differences, as in where I'm at on the spectrum of mental health.
Think about this. If your partner has anxiety, they're going to seem really angry, judgmental, maybe harsh, worrisome, fretful. Why do they have to worry about everything? That's just anxiety. What if they have ADHD? They seem to lie a lot because they said 12 times they were going to do something that they never did. They're not probably just a liar. They might have ADHD. If they're depressed, they might seem like they don't care about anyone. That's narcissism, because they are just alone and away and don't care about anyone. So watch out, because if they are suffering a mental health issue, it might be at the root of why you guys are fighting about certain things. And those are things that we can just go look at, deal with our mental health issues, learn more about them, read a book about it, get medicated if you need it, see a professional.
I sort of feel like too, as we've come to become, that was great grammar. As we've become more, educated and accepting of these mental struggles, it seems like the work that still needs to be done is almost in our closest circles. Like we can project what we know and what we're compassionate about to the world. The people we live with, we sometimes hold to a different standard.
Absolutely. Especially because sometimes you're so close you can't see the forest for the trees. So you don't know it's that. You just think they're being petty.
Right.
But they're not petty. They may just have anxiety. Or you think they're just detached, but they really might be depressed. So, and I can't tell you how many times we've said, do you think you're depressed? And they're like, oh yeah. Are you doing anything about it? Not really. And by the way, that's what a depressed person would do. It's hard for them to do anything about it. Where the anxious person does way too much, more than they need to do. And then the ADHD person might just never notice there is an issue, right? So it's just something that we want you to pay attention to and know that it might be the deeper issue.
This next difference, juicy as well, energy conversion differences.
Yep, you've heard of introversion, extroversion, ambiversion. Those are all about energy conversion. It's not, an extrovert doesn't just love being with people, they actually get energy with people. So it's kind of insatiable for them to keep wanting to be around people. If you're an introvert, you usually get more energy by yourself, from yourself. So you like being away from people.
What's the
The ambivert, I'm an ambivert. I will vert any way I can. I'll vert left, I'll vert right. But what it means is I kind of can do both. I get energy from people, but I also drain. So a lot of times I like to then be alone and then I build myself back up.
I didn't know that was a thing. I think that's me too.
Is it? Atta girl, you're an ambivert.
I didn't know.
So all that means, by the way, is that you just simply, instead of thinking, oh great, we can never go to a party. No, it's about energy management. So they can go to a party, but you can't go to a party for 7 hours and then expect them to want to go out to dinner after. You pace yourself and just understand what they need. And maybe you go for a party, then you go home for a while, and then you go back to dinner. You can do different things.
This is so good, Matt. 1 minute left to get through two more. Attachment differences?
Attachment, so if you see a strong fight or flight pattern in your marriage, it might be that years ago when they were younger, something traumatized them and their fight or flight instincts turned on. So whenever they're vulnerable, they go fight or flight. You need to understand your history of attachment issues.
And finally, character differences.
Character differences. If somebody, the thing that irritates you most about your partner might be a character strength. If they're really brave, they may say things that no one else says. And it shocks you. Or if I have perspective and wisdom is one of my character strengths, so sometimes I'll play the devil's advocate. And if I'm playing the devil's advocate, weirdly, I might be using a strength. And I might not have another strength that you have that you're playing. So sometimes your biggest conflicts are just a battle between your strengths. And if we understood each other's strengths, you might be able to allay those issues and move on.
This is so good. 6 differences that could be bringing up these conflicts in your marriage. Understanding them, as Matt's helped us to do, will hopefully take down those conflicts and bring more peace to your home. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brooke.
Hey, before we say goodbye, you have some really exciting news to share.
Big news. So if you're a coach out there in coaching land and you want to learn how to coach relationships to peace, become a peacemaker, get on one of our calls. This is a coach training program we're going to be launching. Go to matttownsend.com or on our Instagram or Facebook page at Dr. Matt Townsend. It's 7 p.m. Tuesday, November 1st. We're going to lay out the new coaching program, show you how you can start coaching profitably people in their relationships and start changing the world.
People have been asking you to do this for a really long time.
It's finally happening, folks.
So the ultimate coach teaching other coaches, I think, is a great thing. We'll post that information for you on our website if you know of a coach who might benefit or if you yourself wants to get involved in that opportunity. Thank you so much. You're doing great work.